What's up guys, welcome to another tutorial. Today I'm going to continue our inventory series. As I said in the last video, today I'm going to set up our filters in our inventory. So I'm going to allow these buttons to work, so the all weapons and consumables. And then if the video is not too long, I am going to, when we have an item in our inventory, we click it, and if we click it, we're going to use it. If I have time, I'm probably going to split that into two videos because it depends on the time. So let's just get into it. So going to the widget blueprint inventory, we're going to go to the graph and we're going to create a new function which we're going to call filter inv. And we're going to need an input which is going to be the type to filter. So I'm just going to say type, and it's going to be of the type e_item type. So let's make this function real quick. So we're going to use a switch. So if we want to filter weapons, we're going to do, let me see, let's get the owning player pawn. And let's cast into our first person character. Let me just plug that in. Let's create a new for each loop over here. And from our first person character, we're just going to get our inventory. And now, well, we're going to want to add every item in our inventory, the ones that are classified as weapons. So basically, we're going to break this, the item details. We're going to get the type. Actually, we do not want to, we can do this other way. So let's just delete with switch, and we can just, make this as procedural as possible so it becomes easier. And the only thing that we have to do is basically get this type, get out an equal, and plug this back into the input. And now if an item is one of the items in the inventory has the same type as the one that comes from the function, we are going to allow it to be added into our inventory widget. So while we do that, it's as we already done. So we get the items container. We got to create a widget. Actually, we can just go back into the inventory graph, and you can just Control C, go into the filter inventory, Control V, and it's actually pretty easy. Just connect it through into this one. There you go. And also, because we filter, we may change this in runtime. Before we do any of this, we're going to get our items container, and we're just going to clear children. So it will remove all the items that are showing in our widget. And then we'll populate again with this code. So we can, I think, test this out, but before, we're going to want to go into the designer and basically create an on-click event for each one of these buttons. So let's go, consumables. And now for the all, we already do this before. So I'm going to go over here into the event constructor, and I'm going to create a new custom event. I'm going to call this just filter all, because that's what we do on the event construct. Basically, we just filter all the items. So I'm going to say over here, just call filter all. And over here, I'm just going to call filter. I can just drag from the functions, and I'm going to filter the weapons. And over here, I'm going to filter the consumables. And I think that's everything we need. Let's test that out. Go into the first person map. Let's play. So right now, if we open, we have nothing. But if we pick our items, we get all. So if we click all, we get all. Okay. I found out a problem because before we do this, we need to go into the items container and clear it again. So I'm going to go and clear the children, and then after we do that, we cast and do the rest of the code. Don't forget to do that, otherwise we will get replicated items, and we do not want that. So let's do that again. Let's pick our items, and now we go into our inventory. We can click all, and it will filter the items. If we go into weapons, We get nothing because we do not have any weapons. Both of these three items are consumables. We're going to the consumables and we got... That's interesting. Why am I getting null references if I filter consumables? Let me see. Just going to the inventory. Let me go into the filter inv. I'm not sure what's the problem. Oh, that's because I forgot to plug in these items details. We need to plug that into the array element that is in our filter inv. So go into our filter inv, go into our create widget operator, and this is not going to be plugged in. We need to drag that into the array element because it needs to get the data from the for each loop. And now it should be fully working. Oh, sorry. So let's pick everything again. Go, click all, click weapons. We don't have any consumables, they appear back. Now what I'm going to do, because the video is still short, I'm going to enable you to do certain things when you click on your items. And for that, I am just going to close the item. No, I'm going to close the inventory. And I'm going to go and I'm going to have to go into our master over here on the first person BP blueprints. We're going to have to go into our master item. And I'm going to need to create a new event up here. That is just going to be called, add a custom event, interact. And remember, because this is a master blueprint, every shell is going to have this event there. So we can compile and save and close that. Now we're just going to have to go into each one of our items. So I'm going to open the three of them. There you go. And before I do this, I'm just going to go into the first person character and create a couple of variables that I want. The first one is going to be our health, which I'm going to make a float and give a default value of 50 so we can see it raising. I'm going to create a new one for water, which I'm going to leave at 50 as well. And I'm going to make another one. I'm going to duplicate and I'm going to make it food and leave it at 50 as well. There you go. Compile and save. I'm just going to use these three variables as an example. And I'm just going to go over to the event tick. And I'm going to print them out so I can have like an example for us to see. So I'm going to print a string. I'm going to duplicate this 3 times. And what I want to do is, first of all, make these ones only last 0.01 so it only shows once per tick, so we don't see a spam of prints on our screen. Let's do that. The color is fine. And now I'm just going to add, so the health, plug that in, our water, plug that in, and our food, plug that in. And now I can just quickly show you. If we play, you can see up there we have our 50-50-50. So now I'm going to go into the Apple and I'm going to open the full blueprint editor, and now you can see that our childs are calling the parent versions of these events, but because we don't have anything there, this won't matter. But now if we search for interact, we're going to have a function. Oh, I don't now want the function. Interact. You can go over here into the event interact. And now we have this event that we can call. So what do I want to do for the apple? I basically want to get the player character. I'm going to go in and cast to our first person character. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my food. I'm going to do a plus. And let's say I want to add 25 if we eat an apple. And then I'm going to set the food. Let's see, I'm just going to just pick this and Control C because we're going to reuse that. I'm going to close the apple. Going to the water bottle, we're going to want to call interact again. There you go. Just going to paste this. Now I want to do the same thing with the water, so I'm going to get the water. I'm going to add, let's say I want to only add 10 when I drink a bottle of water, and I'm going to set the water. Oh. And now do the same thing for the medikit. And basically every item you create, you open the full blueprint editor, you fill out this information, you give it a mesh, and you go over here, call this event interact, and you basically, whatever you want this item to do, you do it here. So it's very procedural how you can add new items, and it's very powerful. So I'm going to get the elf. I'm going to add a plus, and I'm going to add 50 elf with the medikit. Then I'm going to set the elf again. And there you go. And let me see. I think that's all. So I'm going to close the medikit. And now if we go ahead and play, oh, actually no, we need to go into our widget blueprint item, and remember the button that we have on use item over here, this is the button that we click when we have our items like on the list. This is the one that we set to set the text in the button. We're going to want to go over here. We're going to want to go into the item details, but remember when we add the items into our inventory, we destroy them. So for us to use them again, we're going to need to create a new item. So basically I'm going to break this. I'm going to go for the class, and I'm going to go spawn actor from class. The spawn transform, I'm going to leave it at null, because actually it depends. Let me just see. The type, I'm going to go for the type. I'm going to do a switch. If it's a weapon, we are going to create or spawn a new actor from class. But if it is a weapon, we're going to want to spawn this in our end, so like it's going to be a visible thing. So we're going to have to add a spawn transform somewhere. Normally we would create, oh sorry, I didn't want to do that, recombine. So you'll go back to our item details, and we'll add a new parameter. That would be basically, for example, spawn location, or like the name of the socket in our player, for example, and we would just basically plug that into the spawn transform. But I didn't really in the beginning. I guess we can do that now. Let's go back into our blueprints, go to our item details, and I'm gonna do a new variable, which I'm gonna just drag a little bit up. It can be over here. I'm just gonna call this I guess socket. I'm just gonna call it parent, and this parent would be a skeletal mesh component. Actually, we do not, I'm sorry, I'm being stupid. We do not need to change these item details. We just need to basically get the player pawn, or character, sorry. We're going to cast to our first person character. And we're going to get the mesh. So get the mesh, I think it's that one. And then we'll just get a socket location or transform. And for example, if we have a socket, for example, for a weapon that we had set up before, the weapon would spawn in the end of the player, or whenever the socket, whatever that socket is placed, it will just spawn there. And I'm just gonna toggle this to always spawn ignore collisions. And then I'm just going to call this interact function. Now, if it is a consumable, the story is probably the same, but a little bit different. I'm going to copy this spawn actor and this interact, so Control C, Control V. I'm going to go and say the spawn transform, maybe like on the default one, it's going to always spawn ignore collisions. I'm going to plug in the class because it's going to be coming from the same place. And now I'm going to call interact, and then I'm just going to call destroy actor. Because if it's a consumable after you use it, we're going to want to destroy that. And now, because we use that item, we are going to want to remove that from our inventory. So we're going to get, let me see. I'm just going to copy this up here, the get player in the cast. I'm going to get the inventory. There you go. I'm going to do a for each loop. Let me see what I want to do. I basically want to find, I'm going to break this, and I'm going to find an item with the same name of the item inside that we just used, that we want to basically remove from the inventory. If this is true, I'm just going to say remove index. Actually, I do not want to make this a for each loop. I want a special loop that is for each loop with break. Let me just hold control and left click and drag to get this stuff connected again. Let's do this, and do this. We can delete the all for each loop, because if we do this with the normal for each loop, it's going to remove all the items in the inventory that have the same name. So it's going to remove all the items of the, like, imagine that you have 5 apples, you use 1 apple and all the apples will disappear from the inventory. We do not want that. We only want to remove 1 because we have only eaten 1. And I want to remove that one from the array index. And then I want to drag this execution pin into the break, so this for each loop will stop looping and it will execute the completed. But now we want to refresh our inventory because it won't update in real time. So let's go back into the first person character and let's open our toggle env, and I may just create a new function. So I'm going to create a new custom event. I'm going to call this refresh env, and what I want to do is that I want to spawn, actually I want to remove the inventory. So I'm just going to copy this up, widget blueprint, widget inventory, remove from parent, and after I remove it, I'm going to create it again. So get this, and get this. Control C, Control V, and we just created, store that into the variable, and we add it to the viewport. We can compile that and save it. Go back into the item, and after it completes, we're going to go over here and we're going to call refresh env. And if everything went right, this should be everything we need. Let's go back into the first person example. Level, let's play. We have our 50-50-50. I do not know what's happening. The hell is this? Okay, never mind, it should work anyway. I'm going to pick up the items. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to click on the apple. Boom, it disappeared. And now you can see that our food is 75. I'm going to use the medikit. You can see that our health is 100 over there in the screen. I'm going to use our water bottle, and my drink or water level is 60. So this is just as we wanted. Now you can go and open and try to filter. It will remain updated. And our values in our character, our health and stuff, is going to be updated as well for what values we wanted. And obviously now you can go ahead and, you know, create create more items and test that out. In the next video, after me doing this, I think I'm going to leave it for this video because it's everything that I wanted to do. For the next one, I'm probably going to create a weapon. I'm just going to try and use some, you know, some placeholder as a weapon, and I'm going to try and show you how we can spawn new weapons. This system will probably work, but I'm going to show you how we create a socket and how we basically set this up, because it's not really well explained. So that's going to be my next video. Thank you guys so much for watching this one, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.